Aryna Sabalenka, the best player in the WTA, showed again why she is the best player in the WTA. What a match against Swiatek today. That was great. It had the highs, the lows, the ibs, the flows, the times when I really thought that Sabalenka had just completely lost the match. The first set was great. Sabalenka rushed to an early lead, but then Iga started breaking back. I think she broke her back twice in that first set, and it was back on serve. Got to a tiebreak. Ooh, yeah, Sabalenka versus Swiatek, first set tiebreak. This is exactly what we want. Sabalenka destroyed her in that first set tiebreak, 7-1. It wasn't even close. Aryna Sabalenka's power is up there with any female tennis player I have ever seen. I don't know if you guys saw in that interview where she even said, "You want power? I can show you power." And I've never seen anybody more powerful than me. Her forehands, her crazy serve, the fact that she's super tall and lengthy and can reach at any ball, even her backhand, which I think is very underrated, the power on those shots are crazy. Now, Iga Swiatek had been the queen of clay, winning the last 4 French Opens in total, and just dominating that service way better than any other player in the world. But she's been poor by her standards since last year's French Open. She only got the bronze medal, I believe it was, at the Olympics last year at Roland-Garros, and had a poor hardcourt season that you'd have to say, and really has not been able to find her form back. And now she's dropped all the way to 7 in the world now after being 1 consistently. And Sabalenka has just cemented herself as the best player in the WTA. Now, the second set of this match was interesting because Iga started to turn it. And she was the one who looked more comfortable. It looked like Sabalenka was hitting all kinds of erroneous shots and making a bunch of unforced errors where you think Aryna's lost it. She's completely lost it. Similar to what happened with Mira Andreeva against Louise Poisson. Louise Poisson out today. That was my hero. I was really hoping for some fairy tale story, but it happened to Coco Gauff, the second best player in the world. We'll get to that. But she looked like she was completely out of it. She was getting visibly frustrated in the second set. Iga was playing significantly better. She showed why she is the queen of clay. Her movement was great. Her forehand was super good. She has that Rafael Nadal-like ability to get the top spin on the ball so quickly, so it goes towards other directions very, very well. Backhand, one of the best backhands. Obviously, we know the WTA. Not a great net game, but if it's not really necessary, then why would you go for it? But that's why Sabalenka was hitting her with so many drop shots. But she completely recomposed herself, Aryna Sabalenka, came back to earth, and destroyed Swiatek in that last set. And that was honestly quite disappointing, considering that I felt like after the way the first 2 sets went, the third set could be set up for a classic, an absolute classic, another tiebreaker, a 7-5 type set, or at least one where there's, like 4 or 5 deuces in multiple games and, a bunch of breakpoint opportunities. But Aryna Sabalenka just completely dismantled her in the last set. Like, it wasn't even close. And I was like, is this really the woman who's won the last 3 French Opens here? The Roland-Garros champion, the person who's supposed to be the best player on this surface. And she didn't even look recognizable in the last set against Sabalenka. So it's very disappointing. I was hearing Chris Evert actually, who was commentating the match. She was saying, as great as Iga is, she has several flaws in her game, from her net game to her serve not being a huge weapon because she doesn't have the same amount of power that not just Sabalenka, but like Qinwen Zhang has or something like that, where her serve isn't that great of a weapon. Her defense is great, though, as great as you'll see in women's tennis, but she still has many flaws in her game that she knows that she needs to work on. And it's just disappointing because you know how much talent is there. She's won several slams, but you don't want the talent to completely dissipate. We saw this happen with Naomi Osaka, for instance, but that was for a completely different reason, off the court stuff. And then when she came back on the court, she's never even been remotely close to the player that she was earlier in her career, where she was winning slams and, I don't want to say single-handedly, but was one of the main factors that sent Serena Williams into retirement. But this ain't about them. This is about Aryna Sabalenka. Like I said, the best women's player in the world, the person in the WTA to beat. She just was so composed and resilient in the last set that she played some of her best tennis possible. Iga was making a bunch of crucial mistakes, but Aryna forced her to make those mistakes with a super insanely strong serve, one of the best serves that you'll see, a vicious forehand that nobody can touch. And Aryna Sabalenka, I mean, the final against Coco Gauff, because Coco Gauff, obviously, we know is unbelievable. That'll be a treat. That'll be such a treat. They've played each other in many major matches. Obviously, remember the 2023 U.S. Open when Sabalenka was up one set, should have won the U.S. Open. Then Coco Gauff came back and won the Open on home soil. That was a very special moment, and I love Coco, but you'd have to say that Sabalenka is the best player in the world right now, the best women's player in the world right now. So you would favor her in that matchup. Neither of them have been amazing on clay. You'd probably say that both of them are better hardcourt players. But if you have to give favor to one, it would be Sabalenka, just because she's been playing some more complete tennis. Coco Gauff played a match against Madison Keys. Now, Madison Keys won the Australian Open, we know, upsetting Aryna Sabalenka, and have been playing some of the best tennis on the tour. You thought she doesn't lose in majors. She had been, 10-0 in majors up until that match against Coco Gauff. And that was one of the worst matches I think I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, seriously. I mean, I saw a stat on the tennis podcast that said that each of them had at least 40 unforced errors. And there was at least 20 winners for each of them. I'm like, are you serious? I mean, terrible match. And you think Coco is being so inconsistent here, but she absolutely dismantled Boisson. Then you can't really say, well, that is the 361st ranked player in the world, because nobody said that when she beat Bakula and she beat Andreeva. But Gauff did what she needed to do against somebody like that. And she played a great match, but Sabalenka did that against who is clearly a much better opponent. And I favor her to win this matchup against Coco Gauff greatly, but I'm just so impressed with her from this matchup this morning. The power, the grit, the determination. If you know Aryna Sabalenka, you know all the stuff that she's gone through in her personal life, from her father dying to her ex-boyfriend committing suicide, to closely losing the U.S. Open final, closely losing the Australian Open final, to being from Belarus and everybody hating her country. Her flag, if you look anywhere, her flag is never shown on tennis broadcasts because they don't show the Russia or Belarus flag anymore. So for her to come through and be great through all of that, I have so much respect for her. So all the love and support for Aryna Sabalenka. She is my personal favorite women's tennis player, and it would be great to see her win this and win on the surface that has caused her the most trouble, and set up a potentially great Wimbledon with a bunch of stories to go into. And that'll be a great matchup, but Iga has a lot to work on. That's all I can think of. Iga has a lot to work on. It's Sabalenka's brilliance, but it's more a disappointment by Iga, especially in that final set, that really will pin the needle. But hey, Saturday afternoon, it'll probably be morning here in America, Sabalenka versus Gauff will be a doozy.